NBA legend Charles Barkley was on Outkick's Don't At Me, where he said that men should not play in women's sports.
August 8th, 2026. Indiana Fever versus Chicago Sky. First quarter, barely 3 minutes into the game. DiJonai Carrington chases down Sophie Cunningham on a breakaway layup and brings her entire left arm down across Cunningham's face and neck. Cunningham cannot break her fall. She hits the floor hard. 8 minutes later, still in the arena, still in uniform, Carrington posts the words "white privilege" on Threads and tags the Indiana Fever. And Charles Barkley, the loudest, most fearless voice in basketball television, the man who called Caitlin Clark's treatment terrible before anyone else on a network would say it out loud, has finally opened his mouth. And what he said is going to be quoted for the rest of this WNBA season.
20 was an absolute steal for DiJonai Carrington. Here's Cunningham up ahead of the field, lays it in, plus the foul.
Here is what happened on the floor before we get to what happened in Barkley's chair. Sophie Cunningham was ahead of the pack on a fast break. Clean look at the rim. Carrington chased her down from behind, swiped her entire left arm across Cunningham's face and neck area, and sent her crashing to the hardwood with no time to protect herself. The officials originally called it a flagrant 1. They went to the monitor. They upgraded it to a flagrant 2. Carrington was ejected. Cunningham got up, walked straight at Carrington on the baseline, pushed at her chest, yelled in her face, and had to be pulled away by Michaela Timpson and Fever security. And as Carrington walked to the tunnel, the home crowd in Chicago cheered her. A player just got ejected for a flagrant foul that nearly took an opponent's head off on a breakaway layup, and the building gave her a standing ovation. Think about that for 1 second. In any other sport in this country, in the NBA, in the NFL, in Major League Baseball, if a player got ejected for that kind of contact on a defenseless opponent, the home crowd would be split at best. Some fans would clap for their guy. Most would sit quietly. A meaningful percentage would boo their own player for losing composure. Chicago did none of those things. Chicago stood up. Chicago cheered. That is the atmosphere Sophie Cunningham walked into 1 week after her comments on biological men in women's sports turned her into a political target. That is the room the WNBA has allowed to form around one of its own players.
20 was an absolute steal for DiJonai Carrington. Here's Cunningham up ahead of the field, lays it in, plus the foul, and then Cunningham gets into the face of DiJonai Carrington right away in the aftermath.
If you are new here, hit subscribe right now because we are covering every angle of this story until the WNBA does what it has to do. Now the part that turned a hard foul into a national story. 8 minutes after the ejection, while Cunningham was still being checked out by trainers, Carrington opened Threads and posted 2 words. White privilege, and she tagged the Indiana Fever account. Then she posted a second time, August 23rd, the exact date these two teams are scheduled to play each other next. That is not competitive frustration. That is not a heat of the moment mistake. That is a deliberate, calculated public statement, and it was aimed like a laser at Sophie Cunningham, at the Indiana Fever, and at everyone watching.
How did you go through that at a young age, coming into the NBA, where the people could have been your teammates, could have been the people you were competing against. They weren't celebrating you.
No, not at all.
They wanted to kick your ass.
And this is where Charles Barkley walks in, because if there is one voice in American basketball that has spent an entire career refusing to shrink from the uncomfortable moment, it is his. Understand who this man is before you weigh what he says next. Charles Barkley is a Hall of Fame power forward, 11-time NBA All-Star, 1993 MVP. He has been the anchor of Inside the NBA on TNT for over 2 decades. He has been sued, fined, criticized, and beloved for one single reason. He does not read the room. He tells the room what he sees. He said Caitlin Clark's treatment in this league was terrible before mainstream media would put the word on air. He looked at the WNBA All-Star voting scandal and said the embarrassment was entirely the WNBA's to own. He said Clark deserved every ounce of attention she gets, and he said it while other commentators were still tiptoeing around whether it was okay to say. So when a player commits a flagrant 2 on Cunningham's face and then posts white privilege while the game is still being played, Barkley is not going to nod politely. He is going to say the thing. And here is what he said about the foul itself.
I'm not going to get into all this stuff that's going around. Men should not play sports against women. If anybody think that, I think they're stupid. I do not, under any circumstances, under zero, think that men should play sports against women. And if anybody have a problem with that, they're going to have to get over it, because I'm not going to change I'm not going to change.
Barkley said it was a hard foul. He said he did not think DiJonai Carrington intentionally came out to get Cunningham across the neck like she did. He said it happened, and he thought it was the right call. He said one of the things about DiJonai is she is going to play her butt off, she is going to compete, and nobody is going to walk in for a layup on her. He said he does not oppose the hard foul. That is Barkley extending exactly the kind of professional respect Carrington's own coaches were extending. Stephanie White, the Indiana Fever head coach, who coached Carrington from 2023 to 2024 in Connecticut, gave her the most generous read possible. She said she believed it was a hard foul, but did not think Carrington intended to hit Cunningham the way she did, and Barkley echoed it. Two people who have watched Carrington's game up close gave her the benefit of the doubt on the physical play. And then 8 minutes later, Carrington went on Threads and posted white privilege. She took the benefit of the doubt those two people just extended, and she set it on fire.
I feel like C, over the last 4 or 5 games, her floor game has been incredible. We all know she can score in bunches. She finds ways, but the way that she's getting us into offense, the way that she...
Now here is what Barkley cannot let slide, because Barkley has said the sentence that every honest person in sports has been trying to figure out how to phrase for a week. Take a walk with him. There is craziness going on in the WNBA. DiJonai Carrington tweeted out white privilege from the locker room of a game she was playing in. She fouled Sophie Cunningham hard. Sophie Cunningham, obviously a white player, gets fouled hard. Flagrant 2, ejected, goes to the locker room and posts white privilege in the middle of the game. And here is the kicker, in Barkley's words. A flagrant 2 has to be contact that can lead to injury, contact that looks excessive. That foul was about as excessive as possible. If there was any evidence of white privilege on that play, this was not it.
Do you ever think you'd be on Inside the NBA talking about the WNBA protecting somebody from violence?
No, I thought man, these girls getting ready to hit the lottery. I mean, this is a great...
That is not a subtle read. That is Barkley telling the country that the aggressor on the play tried to invert the story of the play, and he is right. Look at what actually happened. A white player goes to the basket, a black player chases her down and clotheslines her to the floor. Officials review the tape and upgrade it to a flagrant 2. The black player gets ejected for the foul she committed. And her response, before Sophie Cunningham had even left the court, was to type the words white privilege into a public post and tag the victim's team. Sophie Cunningham herself, the woman who took the foul, said it plainly. She said the ejection had nothing to do with race. Nothing to do with race. The person who got hit said it out loud. And Carrington posted white privilege anyway, and the crowd cheered the ejection anyway. That is the WNBA on August 8th, 2026. Subscribe right now if you want to keep hearing this said out loud. A like on this video tells the algorithm to put it in front of every basketball fan who needs to see this. Barkley did not stop there, because Barkley has been on this beat for a while. He has watched this league fail its biggest star for 2 seasons running, and here is where his commentary lands the hardest punch. He said the WNBA is the gift that keeps on giving. He said the latest is a clothesline foul on Sophie Cunningham by DiJonai Carrington, the same woman who went on an incredibly racist rant against a cab driver, and who knocked the hell out of Caitlin Clark from behind her rookie year. He said he is not mad at that kind of basketball. He said that is all good. Hard basketball is basketball. But the problem, he said, is what happened after. The problem is white privilege.
Charles Barkley didn't hold back on Caitlin Clark. He said,
"Oh, petty, man. Hey, LeBron, you're 100% right on these girls hating on Caitlin Clark. Y'all petty girls. I expect men to be petty because we're the most insecure group in the world.
Oh, you are.
Y'all should be thanking that girl for getting y'all ass private charge."
because that connection matters. That connection matters more than any other single point Barkley made. DiJonai Carrington and Caitlin Clark have documented history. In 2024, during Clark's rookie season, Carrington poked Clark directly in the eye during a game. That play went viral within an hour. Every Clark fan in the country saw it. No flagrant foul was called in real time. The league reviewed it. No suspension, no publicly announced fine. Carrington sat at the podium and told reporters she did not even know she had hit Clark. She said she did not know why she would intend to hit anyone in the eye, that it did not make sense to her, and that it was not the type of player she was. A reporter asked her about video that appeared to show her and a teammate laughing about it afterward. She said she could not laugh about something she did not know happened.
So DiJonai Carrington was assessed at flagrant 2 and was ejected from the game after this play. And rightfully so, man, because this ain't no basketball. But yeah, she got to the locker room and...
Now think about that pattern. The same player who poked Caitlin Clark in the eye in 2024, the player the WNBA declined to publicly discipline for that incident, just brought her entire arm down across Sophie Cunningham's face in 2026, got ejected, and posted white privilege while the game was still being played. That is the pattern Barkley is pointing at. That is the accountability vacuum he has been warning about for 2 full seasons. Here is why the 2024 eye poke is not a separate story from the 2026 clothesline. It is the same story. It is one uninterrupted line. When a league fails to publicly discipline a physical incident against its most marketable player, it does not just fail that one player, it sets a precedent for every future incident. Every player watching learns the same lesson. There is a ceiling on the consequences. That ceiling gets tested, and the next time it gets tested harder. That is not a WNBA problem. That is a rule of every professional sports league on earth. The NBA learned it in the Jordan Rules era. The NHL learned it in the Enforcer era. Every league eventually reaches a moment where it has to draw the line, or the line stops existing. The WNBA had that moment in 2024 with the Carrington eye poke. It walked past it. And Sophie Cunningham on August 8th is what walking past it costs. The WNBA's decision to not discipline Carrington meaningfully in 2024 is the direct road to what happened on August 8th. Clark fans connected those dots inside of an hour. One fan posted on X that the lack of accountability in this league creates players who think they can target Indiana Fever players without consequences. Another wrote that Carrington already knew the WNBA's track record, and she tested it in 2024, and she tested it again on August 8th.
Yeah, so Carrington is a dirty player, probably the dirtiest player in the league. And then she has the audacity to go online right after her ejection and claim that.
And here is the tell about who Sophie Cunningham actually is in this story. After the game, she was asked about Carrington's white privilege post. Her response, in full, clearly, she said it was unnecessary. She said she had never really spoken to Carrington, that she had no beef with her, but she guessed Carrington had some pent-up stuff, so get yourself off, that's fine. 3 sentences. 0 panic, 0 victimhood, 0 drama. The player who took a flagrant 2 arm across her face and neck, who hit the floor without being able to break her fall, who got up and confronted the aggressor directly, whose ejection was posted about as white privilege before she had left the court, said, "Get yourself off, that's fine." That is the person the crowd booed. That is the person the internet has spent a week calling a political target. That is who Sophie Cunningham is under the pressure Barkley just described on national television. And read that response one more time next to what Carrington posted. Cunningham took the physical contact and answered with 3 sentences of professional dismissal. Carrington took her ejection and answered with a race post and a calendar date. Look at those 2 responses side by side and tell me which one belongs on a professional basketball court. And that is exactly why Barkley's silence being broken matters so much. Because Barkley has always been the one to say the sentence the network suits do not want said. He has said men should not play sports against women, and he has said he does not think that is even controversial, and he has said if anybody thinks he is stupid for saying so, he is not. He has said he is rooting for Caitlin Clark because he has been in that seat before, that he has walked that road before, that there are grown men and women doing whatever they can to make sure she does not succeed. and that he thinks that is the weirdest thing in the world. He told LeBron James on air that LeBron was 100% right on the women hating on Caitlin Clark. He has been the megaphone this league has refused to hear.
Group in the world. Y'all should be thanking that girl for getting y'all ass private charters, all the money and visibility she bringing to the WNBA. You 100% right. Y'all go.
Drop your answer in the comments. We want to hear from you. Every single comment shapes what we cover next. Because here is what Barkley has now done. He has extended DiJonai Carrington the professional respect of saying the foul itself was competitive basketball, and he does not oppose the hard foul. He has taken the same generous read her own coach, Stephanie White, took. And then he has looked directly at the white privilege post, at the tagging of the Indiana Fever, at the calendar-marked August 23rd second post, and he has said the quiet part on national television. The player who committed the foul tried to make the story about the foul being racist, and there was no evidence for that. None. The person who took the hit said so herself. Barkley said so. Stephanie White said so. Every honest analyst who watched the tape said so, and DiJonai Carrington posted white privilege anyway. The Indiana Fever won that game 90-86, despite Carrington's arm across Cunningham's face in the first quarter. Despite the hostile Chicago crowd cheering the ejection, despite the white privilege post going viral before the final buzzer. The Fever won, and Sophie Cunningham walked off the floor with "Get yourself off, that's fine" as her official statement to the world. And WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert now has a decision on her desk that is going to define the rest of this season. Because the league office reviews every flagrant 2, discipline is coming in some form. The only question is whether it matches the scale of what happened or whether it repeats the 2024 playbook. A quiet review, a private fine, no suspension, business as usual. If Engelbert picks door number 2, Barkley will say so on national television within the week, and every player in this league will hear the same lesson twice. So here is the question. Is DiJonai Carrington's white privilege post sent 8 minutes after a flagrant 2 ejection tagging the Indiana Fever, followed by an August 23rd calendar marker for the rematch, the single most revealing moment in the entire 2026 WNBA season? And does Charles Barkley finally breaking his silence on it prove that the targeting of Indiana Fever players has moved past competitive basketball into something the league can no longer pretend not to see? How many games should DiJonai Carrington be suspended when WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert's office finishes its review? And do you believe this league is capable of protecting the Indiana Fever, or has this already gone too far? Drop it in the comments.